Do you remember that ship going across the English Channel?
Yeah, there was a luxury ship before that they converted to a troop ship.
And about how many soldiers were on the ship?
Probably a whole division.
And what happened to the top brass?
They went different ways. I don't think they flew them. Nobody was flying it. I think they put them in regular cars or whatever.
And how many days were you on that ship getting to France?
About, I always say a week.
And was everyone seasick?
Yeah, a couple guys were seasick, but they weren't that bad.
How was the food?
Lousy. It was limey ship.
And how did the British cooks treat you?
The what?
How did the British soldiers treat you? I think they were cooks.
Well, I said, how you doing, buddy? He says, you going over? Yeah, okay, buddy. See you around, buddy. All that shit.
Was there any good food on the ship?
Huh?
Was there any good food on the ship? Was there any good food on the ship?
No. Well, we ate different hours. Had breakfast at 10 o'clock at night. Had supper at 4 o'clock in the morning.
When you finally got to France, crossing the English Channel, where in France did you land?
In Marseille, and then they tripped us in ship in 6x6s out near a church, and we put up our pet tent, our shelter hats, and used a tent, 2 men in a tent.
Do you have any idea what the name of the church was?
Nah, it was a French church.
And why would they pick the church property to set up the tents?
It was not a church property. The church property is nearby, but
Okay,
they were out in the field. They were out in the field. It's pouring rain.
And so do you remember when you arrived in France, was it at night or in the morning?
It was at night, 3 o'clock in the morning.
And so you had how long did it take you to get to set up the tents? How far away were you?
Right, two shell house made a tent.
But like I'm trying to ask.
And then they dug a trench around the tent so when it rained, it wouldn't come in.
I'm trying to ask, when you got off the ship, how did you get to your accommodations?
They put in a 6x6.
And how long did that take?
I'd say about 3 hours, 4 hours.
So that was a pretty good haul.
Yeah.
They
were open too.
Yeah. So when you put up your tent, how many days did you stay at that location?
Probably a week.
And what did you do at that location?
Didn't do much because it was raining.
Were you able to go into the town?
No, they wouldn't give us passes.
So you stayed right there.
We were restricted.
And did you have the army feeding you at that point? Or were you on K rations?
We were on C rations, C and K rations.
So there was no cooks?
Huh?
There was no cooks? There was no army cooks?
No army trucks?
Cooks?
No. The cooks were ahead of the next location. They were where we were going next week.
I understand.
Oh, there it comes.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh, boom body.
Right, I'll start reading if you want to let her in.
Okay, hi Claire.
Hi,
Yeah,
Claire.
that was mass confusion screwing around that place. Rain, this and that.
Hi, Claire. We reserved a table for you, Claire.
What?
We reserved a table for Claire.
Claire's trying to figure out where the screeching child is.
Let her help her in. Come on in this way, Claire. Don't go to there. It's too tight.
Yeah. Good. Good to see you.
With the scream.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering where the screechy child is.
I don't know.
Downstairs somewhere.
Yeah.
Ah!
Here's Claire. Hi, Claire.
Hi, Claire.
And harmonize.
Afternoon, Claire.
No, not that one, Claire.
Right here, Claire.
Right there.
This is reserved for you, Claire. Okay. Well, I'll update you briefly, Claire. John Jekovich just crossed the English Channel, and he arrived in France, and they got off this real rickety old ship that they're on for some time, and now they're getting these big army trucks, and they're gonna drive 4 hours out into France, and then when they get there, they're each putting up all the tents in pouring rain about 4 o'clock in the morning. So that's where we're gonna start now.
What
And
time of year was that, Dave?
what month was that, October?
October, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was Christmas time, so we went to church.
Here we go. We're picking up on chapter 10, page 233. The head of the chapter is read, Church Service and the Bulge. I was awakened with the bright sunlight shining directly on my face. Rape was asleep, but was not snoring at this time. The sea had calmed down and considerably along the wind. I was thankful for that. I got up and placed my half of the shelter over Leip and reached my light pack, which I've been using for a pillow. All I wanted to do the same was to brush my teeth. The only problem was that I did not have any water to rinse my mouth after brushing. I found a toothbrush and toothpaste and located a remote spot behind the bulkhead to brush my teeth. For some strange reason, it did not feel right to stand among the ship and be seen brushing one's teeth. I switched most of the toothpaste out of my mouth, but could still taste its peppermint flavor, which did not do much for my sensitive stomach. Returning, I found Leip still asleep, and I gave him several tugs. Returning, I found Leip still sleeping, and I gave him several tugs on the shelter half and called him up to get up. The same time stowing my toilet articles, I gently nudged him again and started to stir and blink his eyes in the bright sunlight. Anything I could not tolerate was see someone who I did not especially care for when he first awoke. You said you could not tolerate looking at a person when they first awoke, especially if you didn't like them. When he first awoke, it was just annoyed me greatly. To distract myself from watching Leip, I started to fold the shelter halves and tidy up our sleeping area. In all likelihood, he would not be here tonight, and all probability would be on dry land again. I told Leip to straighten up a bit, and he would try our luck at the galley once again for some chow. I was not looking forward to a second visit to the ship's galley after all the unsavory experiences the night before. As we approached the galley, there was once again the unpleasant, noxious odor emitting from its confines. I was starting to get sick all over again, and Leip had come to the same conclusion. We asked one of the messmen what was for breakfast, and he quickly replied, "Bangers and smashers." Do you know what bangers and smashers are?
Yeah.
What?
Bacon and eggs.
Yeah. And as usual, well, bangers are very large, greasy pork sausage bacon, and smashers were boiled or fried potatoes. I did not relish either.
Yeah.
And Leip was not too enthusiastic about the breakfast. I settled for some hot coffee, which was terrible. After a few biscuits, Leip tried the bangers and smashers, but after a mouthful settled, also for the coffee and biscuits. Thank goodness this would be our last visit to this galley, for the scuttlebutt was we were landing on the coast of France something before dark. We walked back to our area and stowed our shelter halves into our packs and policed the area since we would not be back. Leip sat on the deck contemplating some far out thing, and I decided to walk about the ship and see if I could find out any more news. I talked to some of the men for the 2nd platoon, and they did not know anything. I finally wound up at the fantail arrived, and there was just Fink was coming from breakfast. I asked him how he liked breakfast. He smiled and asked, what breakfast? Fink did not know any more of the rest of us. So basically you're on this ship heading to France, but nobody on the ship knows where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
No one has any idea.
No, we told anybody, no.
No one has no idea where you're going. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. The Army was always spouting off about team integrity and leadership. There was no team integrity shown here, and certainly there was no leadership to display. So, what you did miss was these guys were on an old, worn-out British ship going from Haverfordwest to France. But there was no top brass on this nasty old ship. The top brass were on an American ship where they had big rooms and steak and potatoes, and they would meet them there. They would meet them there. That's what took place. Fink and a few squad leaders, most of them whom were not even in the grade, were all the leadership. And since leaving Breckenridge, Fink was busy getting his gear together, so I made an excuse that I had to go to the head and began walking in front of the ship. I still not to see any land in our direction. It was clear out even though it was cold and raw. The sun was out, and I stood out and sat in the warmth and glow. I would start to feel warm once again. I found a warm spot in the sunlight, pulled out a paperback from my pack, and resumed reading where I left off. And I enjoyed reading it once again. It would help release some of the tensions from a bit escape of the situation we were confronted with. Sort of like dreaming you were somewhere else besides where you presently were. I must have been reading for over an hour, and I started to become cold somewhat again, and the sun moved away from where I was sitting. I got up and pulled the wool knit cap down further over my ears and started to walk briskly toward the deck, and start circulating my blood more rapidly. It was about 1400 hours. I felt a bit hungry and located and opened up one of the dinners of K-rations. As I ate its contents of cheese and crackers, franks and beans, and for dessert a chocolate bar, I thought of the time Jean and I had dinner a few Sundays ago. It seemed like years ago until I found it difficult to relate with it once where I was now. I reached a spot with Lape, and I had bunked down last night, but Lape was nowhere to be found. His backpack was gone. I suspect he was roaming about the ship, looking for me or scrounging up something to eat. I sat there for a while, since the sun was casting in the warm glow over the immediate area, and began reading once again. I must have been reading a short while when suddenly there was a shouting or moving about. I could see land in a distant horizon. You can see land from a distant horizon. This was the coast of France. In a few hours, we'd be off in this ship and on land once again. My spirits revived in the thought of once again eating Army food and having a warm place to sleep tonight. I put the paper back into my backpack and joined the crowd at the railing and watching the approaching landfall. Okay, good night, Claire.
Good
night.
Claire.
Take care.
Good night. Put on pause for a minute.
Oh, that would be,
I have dry. I wish I had something to drink.
I'll go get you some.
And check the mail.